Alright, so it's just gonna be a video. I don't want to say a short video, I don't want to say a long video because I'm not sure yet. I'm just doing this live and it's unscripted, so I have no idea what direction this is gonna take. It's probably gonna be all over the place. I just wanted to get some thoughts out that have kind of been bouncing around in my head about the current season and future stuff and stuff that's been bothering me, as a lot of other YouTubers are. And I don't think this is necessarily a video for anybody else, you know, considering it's a small channel, but it's probably more of a video for myself, you know, just to put it out there and express some concerns and, you know, maybe get some closure and feel better about some of this stuff. So I'm gonna cut the shit and just get straight into it. I'm just gonna do some live strike gameplay, nothing too special. But you know, for the sake of the video, it's, you know, I don't have a script or anything. I'm kind of just gonna be bouncing around at whatever sparks my interest. But I do think that I am gonna start on the current season, as that would probably make the most sense in logical order for where we're at. The time that this is gonna go up. And I might take it down if things change in the future. But as of the current season of The Worthy that this video is going to be posted on, a lot of people are unsatisfied, and they have been unsatisfied for a while, myself included. For a timestamp, today's Monday, tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, weekly reset. And the IO bunker is supposed to come out, which will be the third and final bunker for the season. The whole idea around the season is that the almighty ship is going to crash into Earth and threaten the traveler or whatever, and we need Rasputin's help to stop that. And somehow, through their piss-poor story cycle, they've fed it in that somehow, through Rasputin's help, we're going to be able to stop the Almighty, even though they never really explained any of that. Okay, I get it. Rasputin's super powerful, and if anybody's going to be able to help us, it'd probably be him. But how is fucking going to these random-ass planets and powering up these bunkers through Bounty Simulator somehow going to save the city? They didn't explain, is fucking Rasputin going to shoot out a Warmind at the Almighty? Is he gonna make a fucking giant barricade around the Traveler? None of this was explained whatsoever. So we're completely in the dark, waiting. And apparently Bounty Simulator is the best thing that they can come up with. How are we gonna save the last city? Oh, of course. Go here and do bounties, and then you're time gated, and then do more bounties, and then it'll save the day. That doesn't make any sense. We need some explanation. I get it, the bounties are a way to make people interact with the game. But what does that have to do with powering up the bunkers? Yes, we get a currency, you know, and we can get different integration levels. But once you clear the lost sector and stuff like that, you know, there's no real point of the perks that you get for the bunkers. They're kind of useless, you know. Once you get the 4th Horseman Catalyst and stuff like that, which I was lucky enough to do, which isn't even that good of a weapon to begin with, unfortunately. It was great in D1, but anyways, there's no point in really doing these Legendary Lost Sectors unless they put something in the future. And if you're not doing Legendary Lost Sectors, what's the point of upgrading your bunkers? So it's just a shitty system. And you know, if they decide to do what they did in the past, where we upgrade our bunkers and they go away just like the obelisks, then what is the point of any of this? I'd like the bunkers to stay. You know, it's put in the game, it's a piece of content that we paid for, so it should stick around, you know. But then again, it's like, what's the use for it? It's still, even then, if it doesn't have any use, it's better than nothing, you know. At least it's there. At least it's a change of scenery. It's somewhere you can go and you can be like, oh, well, yeah, this is for the DLC. But what happened with, what the fuck is, I forgot what it's called because they fucking took it away. The Sundial, that shit? What happened to that last season Um, they fucking took it away. You know, it wasn't fun, it wasn't like amazing, it wasn't great, there wasn't any loot that changed the game. But they took it away. It's a piece of content that we paid for, and now it's inaccessible, which I'm not too sad about because I accessed it while it was around. But still, for novelty purposes, you know, how would D1 players feel if you completed the fucking vault and then after that year you weren't able to fucking do the raid anymore? I mean, like, I guess Vault's a bad example because it's vanilla content, but like for any paid content, it feels like a slap in the face. You know, giving your money up for something and then that something goes away. It's like, oh great, so it just vanished. And especially for people who have the fear of missing out, they can't play all the time. I, however, am fortunate or unfortunate, I guess. Depends how you think about it, to be able to play and witness all this stuff, you know, but it goes away. You know, for novelty, it'd be nice to have it there, but it just goes away, and that is pretty upsetting. And I know it's just to help tide people over from season to season. That's what it's really for. But what I was saying about the bunkers, you know, if the bunkers just go away when the season's over, that's gonna make me feel like shit because I spent all these hours upgrading them and blah 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 blah. And same thing with Vex Offensive. For the Shadowkeep season, Vex Offensive was terrible, absolute utter horse crap, and they took it away. You know, like, I can understand why they took it away. It's not like I'd really fucking play it anyways, which seems to be pretty contradictory, but then again, you know, for nostalgia, or if you want to come back to it and be like, oh yeah, this was that season, I paid for this, you know, it's just something that's available in the game. For a game that has so little to do, you know, you think that you'd want to get everything that you can get in here. You know, every single little experience, all these replayable story missions and stuff. You know, just in case you want to go back and redo them, it's your right, it's your leisure as someone who's paid for the game. You know, this game should be an ever-expanding archive of these different journeys that you went on. And I think that's as much as I'm going to touch on that. But essentially what I'm saying is, I hope that everything we're doing this season isn't like useless, isn't worthless in the end, because it feels like we take a couple steps forward and then we just completely delete it and go back to square one. What's the point of doing any of this? It's not fun. That's what the point of a video game is supposed to be, is to have fun. So what's the point of doing these bunkers? They're not fun and they don't stick around, so why should I even be here for the season? Now, Bungie could end up making it so that they stick around, and that'd be cool. That's what I want. You know, I won't be disappointed if that happens, but I also am not going to change my standards, you know? I'll just be surprised if it happens. But from the way that things are going lately, I don't think they will, but who knows? I wish the obelisks would have stayed around. I for sure thought they would, but they're gone, so that sucks. But I can see how the obelisks segued into Trials. And speaking of Trials, we're still talking about the current season. And let me just get into some of that, I guess. I talked about Rasputin and Warmind and the upcoming progression in the story or whatever, if you could even call it that. Trials was supposed to be a big selling point of this season, which I think it completely failed on. I haven't played it yet. I went flawless a ton in D1, and Trials was great, and you know, I was a good player and I had a good team and there was incentive to do it, but you know, I just, from what I've heard in the community, Trials is just a fucking fail, and all the time that they said it was in the oven baking for is just completely worthless. And you know, I told everybody, I feel like the fucking mad prophet, because I said everyone's so excited for Trials, but in a couple weeks people are going to be right back to complaining again because Trials isn't going to change the core state of the game. And guess what people are doing right now? All these big YouTubers are making these frustrated videos. Trials needs some serious work, and it's like, oh, no shit. They gave us Trials of the 9 in year 1, and people didn't like it, and they said, oh, let's take it away. Let's take away a core piece of the game that's brought millions of players in every single weekend. And let's fucking give them the same exact thing that they had in Destiny 1, basically unchanged. And you know, people are happy for a while, but then they realize how bad it really is just because of the meta and cheating and the way that players play and overall. So I won't talk anymore about Trials. I think it's nice that the old armor sets are back. I think it's nice that some weapons are back, but then again, it's stuff we've already had. So how are you going to get so excited about it? Yes, the armor looks nice, but I can just load up D1 and stare at it. You know, it's maybe I sound lazy because I'm not willing to try Trials and I don't want to get into the sweat fest, but that's just how I see it. Looping back to something I was talking about earlier, when the IO bunker comes tomorrow, I have already grinded out all the currency. I've got about 3,000 war mine bits, and I'll just pop in the bunker. I'll take a look around. I'll purchase every single integration level, and then I'll be done. I mean, what's after that? Do I have to wait a couple another weeks for something to happen? Or as soon as I get all 3 bunkers done, will something happen? It's hard to say. We don't know yet. So we'll just have to wait. But I mean, what is this thing that's going to happen once we get all 3 bunkers upgraded? There's been a lot of teasing of Siva, which I'm very excited for, but I just don't know how they're going to pull it off. Of course I want to see it make a comeback. This is probably the most development we've had in the game for a while. But my worry is that the way that Trials was segued last season and finally made its way into this season, that's what I think is going to happen here, is that Siva's going to be introduced in this season, and then we're not going to be able to interact with it until next season. So it's just a waiting game. It's just sitting around wondering when something's finally going to happen, when the game's finally going to be interesting and fun, and when people are going to want to come back. Now, I don't know how Rasputin and Siva are going to tie in to anything. I do know the leaked images and all of the data mine stuff that the big streamers have been talking about. The room with Phil Winter's capsule or whatever that Rasputin has on the moon, and then if you go to the season banner, there's some Siva bits around the Warmind symbol, if it'll load here, and then as well as all the Siva things in the cash shop. It just makes sense for Siva to come back, and I know it will, but I'm afraid that it won't come back till next season. But we'll have to see. And then comes the question, what is going to be done? You know, is Siva somehow going to be used by Rasputin to help us stop the Almighty? Is any actual game-changing events going to happen? Like, instead of just stopping the Almighty, is the Almighty actually going to crash and affect us in some way? It's hard to say. I don't want to get my hopes up because, you know, Bungie's just a fun killer, but who knows? That's why this video is kind of subjective being made at this point, because I have no idea what's going to happen, but I can only use my prior history from Bungie and expect to be disappointed. Everybody thought this crazy event was going to transpire when the Undying Mind came back, but in reality, it was just more disappointment. So, however Siva decides to make its return, I don't know, and I hope it has some sort of impact. Maybe the Plague Lands will come back. Maybe we'll get a new race, quote, quote, new. But as for that, I'm going to leave it up in the air. You know, I'll just put this current season aside. And just be known that I don't like Bounty Simulator. The only time I was okay with bounties was in D1, where you turned them in and you randomly had a chance to get an exotic like Bad Juju or Thorn. That was okay with me. But now, these bounties just feel worthless. It's unfortunate. So, I've talked about the current season. I guess I'll talk about something else that's kind of bothered me, is their decision not to have, I won't say pinnacle, I gotta say ritual weapons now in this season. They didn't bring any ritual weapons. I guess you can count the Iron Banner bow if you want, but 1, nobody likes Iron Banner, and 2, nobody likes bows, so that's a letdown. It sucks that there's no ritual weapons, however good they may be for us to chase, because it's a core piece of the game that at least gives you something to do, something to go out and chase and have a milestone that you want to reach and have some goals and track progress towards it. It's just not there. And I understand, I guess, their excuses for not being able to roll out all this content, you know, and how they've remastered Trials weapons, so they can't remaster, or not remaster, but they can't make ritual weapons, which I think is a bullshit excuse. I don't know how the Trials weapons are. I know a few people have said that the sniper's good, the shotgun's good, but beyond that, I mean, I don't really know. It's just the same weapons that we had all along. So, I wish that there was ritual weapons. Randy's throwing knife was pretty good. The gun I'm using right now, Python, is very good. I like this weapon a lot. So, those would be hits, I'd say. Was Wendigo a ritual weapon? I think it was a pinnacle. But, I mean, that leads me to my next point, is that pinnacles, I miss pinnacles. Recluse, Mountaintop, they're still all very good. I have nothing wrong with them. Luna's Howl, great weapon. I love Luna's Howl, you know. But if you want to step into Crucible, I mean, that's a whole nother debate that you've got to go into, you know, whether the state of Crucible is good or not. I mean, I'm a PvE player, but it's not like I shy away from PvE, you know. I love PvE. I was a fucking maniac in D1, man. I played the shit out of PvP. But beside that, I'm just talking about pinnacle weapons, their decision to remove them. It's whatever, and replace them with ritual weapons. I was really upset at the time, but we've gotten a couple good ritual weapons, which is okay. They've nerfed Recluse. Recluse is still good. You know, I don't use it as much as I used to, but it's still there, which is nice. I just hope that they don't end up nerfing them anymore in the future. But yeah, I just wish we had more of these weapons that were put on a pedestal that we could chase after. That's kind of where I went to with rituals, and now that rituals are gone, it's just kind of, I feel lost. And for that, you know, it brings up the topic of why add any more weapons to the game if, you know, they're just going to do weapon retirement soon and weapons are going to be obsolete, so why would they add any new good ones? You know, I don't like to use the word obsolete. I feel like that's probably the wrong usage, but the way that they put it is, why would they make any new good weapons when they're just going to end up redoing weapons anyways? So the good weapons that we have always end up getting nerfed, and it's like, if they're gonna vault weapons away and make them be behind a light barrier like they did in D1, and they're gonna usher in all these new weapons, they're just gonna have to be as good as the old ones, and we're gonna have to grind all over for them again. So I mean, I don't really see the point in that. You know, everybody loves their spare rations, everybody loves their this and that, it's meta. But I mean, if you nerf it, people are gonna be mad. They'll just go to the next best option. And if you do weapon retirement, you're just gonna have to put something equally as good in, and people are just gonna have to grind for it all over again, and it's gonna create the same problem that you had in the beginning. So I don't know what my stance on that is. I could see how weapon retirement would be good for the game, but Bungie are lazy, shitty designers, so I don't even know how they'd come up with anything better. It would just feel like an overall nerf to everybody and a waste of time. So I talked about pinnacles, rituals, all that. I don't have a script, but one of the things that I did want to talk about in the rant was my feelings on different weapon archetypes. Originally, you know, I thought if you go back, let's say, I don't know, like 2 years to when Recluse came out, I thought SMGs are terrible, they're garbage, nobody would ever use them, ever. You know, and then Recluse came out and people were like, holy shit, SMGs can actually be good. Same thing with grenade launchers. People never really thought grenade launchers were good, and then they got a buff, and then Mountaintop was good, and then things like Swarm of the Raven. You know, so they brought a couple weapon archetypes to light. And I'm super happy about that, you know. I'm glad that SMGs are back in the game. Risk Runner is an amazing gun. I love that thing to death. And I'm glad that there's some options. But one thing that I really want to talk about is fucking rocket launchers. I really wish more than any other weapon would just start to make a comeback. You know, I know that bows are probably never going to be good. They could prove me wrong. A little tangent, but I seriously wish that Wish Hunter was good. It was good when it was bugged, but I don't think that bows will ever be good, you know? Unless they pull something out of their ass and surprise me. Wish Hunter should have been good, the amount of work that was put into it to get it, but it's just not, and bows are mediocre. You know, so I don't really have any hope for that, but I do have hope, dying hope, that they will eventually make rocket launchers better. Wardcliff Coil used to be absolutely fucking busted for a while, and everybody used it, and it felt amazing to take down bosses with it. But, you know, it's nowhere near close to the Gjallarhorn, and neither was Deathbringer, unfortunately. A lot of people were excited for it. I myself was. But if I think back in history, the only time in D2 that rocket launchers have ever really been used is, like I said, with Deathbringer, sorry, not Deathbringer, with Wardcliff Coil, especially when it had the infinite ammo glitch. And then the other time was in the last Wish raid when you could use cluster bombs to cheese Riven. And obviously they've made a lot of changes there to cheesing Riven. And people use different things like grenade launchers and even swords now. You know, I don't really know. I haven't done Riven in a while, so I'm not caught up on what's good. But besides the point, I want rocket launchers to be good again. I'm glad that they have tracking like they used to, like they always should have. But I want them to be good again, because in D1, rocket launchers were unmatched, especially Gjallarhorn, but that's an entirely different story. Rocket launchers were good when it came to Riven, but I don't really count that, because Riven's one boss, one scenario in the game, that's it. I wish that you could jump into any activity and pull out a rocket launcher and be like, this is my baby, I love this thing's good. But right now, rocket launchers just feel like they're extremely lacking. I have no incentive to use a rocket launcher whatsoever. It feels like, I mean, they're better than bows, of course, but it feels like bows to me, just something that's been put into the game, an archetype that nobody is ever going to use. And maybe I'm biased because I use, you know, tractor cannon or some other heavy 1,000 voices. But I just don't see rocket launchers having any competitive advantage over any of those options. So I seriously wish they'd come back. Obviously everybody wishes that Gjallarhorn would come back, but who knows about that? I mean, I have a whole other opinion on them slowly trickling us back these weapons, spoon-feeding us content that we've already had in D1, and us being so excited over it. Oh my god, look at this! A new weapon, it's not really new, but oh my god, you took it away from us, and you starved us, and you made us feel like it was never gonna come back, and then it came back, and then we got excited. That's not the way that you should be getting people excited. That's not new content. That's a terrible way of making your fan base excited. It's horrible. I've always hated that. Oh, here's Surus Regime. Never heard of that before. When they brought it back, they expected people to be excited. This bitch was always in D1. And I won't say it's bad, but it was never super good. It's nice to have it back, but it's like it never should have left in the first place. So it's very frustrating. And, you know, they make new exotics like Xenophage. It's getting a lot more love than it used to. I went out and grinded that thing out right away. But I mean, what was the point of doing that? Xenophage is good. I wouldn't say good, you know, it's decent. It's okay now. But I don't know if it'll ever be great. Which is unfortunate, because they introduce all these new cool exotics like Deathbringer. Deathbringer's cool, it has a nice design. It had potential to succeed, but it didn't. And all these exotics like Wish Hunter I mentioned before don't have any purpose, they don't have any meaning. Which is like, why should I go out and even grind for it? What's the point? So the exotics they have returning aren't good. The exotics they're bringing that are new aren't good. What's the point of exotics? And the ones that are good now are only going to end up getting nerfed in the future, so what's the point of anything? That's a very, like, pessimistic outlook to take. I know. But it's just frustrated. Just need to get out some negative thoughts. Weapons are a really hard thing to talk about, especially when it comes to balancing between PvE and PvP. which Bungie have always had a hard time doing. And you know, I won't sit here and pretend like I'm a fucking dev. I'm just someone sitting at home saying their opinions. You know, I don't know anything about how it is to actually balance a game and how it is to create content. You know, but I do think that Bungie is reaching sometimes when it comes to their excuses. But, you know what, who's the fucking loser at the end of the day? Here I am still supporting them, you know, wishing that things would get better. So, as shitty as that sounds, you know, I guess I'll keep waiting. Maybe they'll make a comeback. Who knows? But, I guess I've gotten that out of the way. That's the weapons rant, I guess you could call it. I guess I want to talk about strikes. Let me get a drink here real quick, just because I've been fucking talking for so long. Strikes was the next thing I wanted to talk about. I'm running some strikes right now. It's whatever, you know. I've ran them a million times. It's part of their core loop that they make you come back into the game and do these strikes over and over and over again, and it just gets super repetitive. And there's, I mean, I don't want to say there's not a lot of strikes to choose from, because, you know, that would be false. There's some strikes to choose from, but are they memorable? A few of them. I wish there was more strikes like the Corrupted. Forsaken was an amazing DLC, and that was a very good strike. One of my top strikes, I'd have to say. And it reminds me of the strikes from D1. There's a lot of really good strikes from D1. I love strikes in D1. I would always go into the playlist and I'd try out the strikes because I loved all the strikes. They gave some meaning to the game. You know, it was something else to do. You know, you're always looking for things to do in Destiny. You just eat up the content and then you're like, what's next? And right now in Destiny 2, strikes aren't really all that. They haven't added any in a long time. The ones that they added in Shadowkeep were, they were okay. This is one right now that I'm playing that was added in Shadowkeep. I mean, it's alright. The Hash Ladoon one on the moon was cool. Crota's daughter or whatever. It was, or was it his sister? I don't even fucking know. I think it was his sister. I don't know, dude. I seriously don't fucking know at this point. Either way, it's an insignificant character. You know, we fucking blasted her down in a millisecond, so I mean, what's the point? We keep getting teased all these things, like, oh, here comes Savathun. We're gonna keep fucking trailing you on, leading you on with this story that never fucking ends. Adding new stuff, more stuff. Ooh, this is gonna happen eventually, but we just keep waiting for it to happen. So I don't know, you know? I want us to fight Savathun in a raid when it finally happens. Or, I mean, I don't know. Maybe a dungeon, but, you know, I still think that's too little. Like, Savathun's a huge fucking boss. And I hope that they deliver on it, but who knows? Kind of a tangent from the strikes, but like I was saying, you know, they need to update strikes more often. And they need to have better strikes. Which is kind of controversial because, you know, would you rather have more strikes or would you have better strikes? Obviously, I'd say better strikes, but at this point, they're not even adding any new strikes at all. There's nothing. And it just feels like a part of the game that's completely gone downhill, as well as Gambit. I won't even talk about Gambit. So when it first came out, it was good, you know, but now they've just fucking forgotten about it, and they just left it behind. Like the fucking child that they didn't want. Which is terrible. It's very upsetting. A lot of people didn't like it, but I do hope that it gets some sort of revamp in the future to have more meaning, as well as strikes. I hope we get more D1 strikes. I hope we get more new strikes that have meaning. I just hope that the game starts progressing, because as it is right now, it feels like it's just so stagnant. It feels like the only thing that there is to do is bounties. And those aren't fun. I just want more fun things. That's why you play video games, is because you want to have fun. And I just feel myself questioning my time with Bungie, you know? D1 was amazing, and I devoted so many thousands of hours. And I don't regret a second of it, because that game was great. But D2, I don't know where it's taking us. I don't like the direction that it's heading down. As for, you know, things like the season pass, and instead of having the big expansions, we have these little, I don't even know what they want to call them, these little 3-month updates. And then every September we have our huge like annual update, our big DLC. You can actually call it a DLC. All these other little things are just fucking random add-ons that feel like nothing. Don't really add anything towards the story. I wish they would. That'd be a lot better. I love seeing Saint 14 come back, but the Quarters of Time puzzle was just a huge letdown to everybody, so I don't even know what to say about that. We haven't had any real like lore changing events in a while. The pyramids was huge, obviously. That was crazy to find out, but we didn't get any further development on it. It's like, oh, here I am, developer at Bungie, gonna introduce this crazy big thing that we've been waiting forever to happen. And then we're just not gonna develop it anymore and let all the hype fucking die out. I mean, I understand what they're trying to do. It's this mysterious, ominous waiting that's, you know, eventually in our Guardian's lifetime we're gonna come to a close and have a confrontation with all these things that have been laid out for us, but it almost feels like too much. The side quests with the Drifter, with Callus, with all these different characters that we have, I just don't know where any of it's going to further the story. And a lot of people don't give a shit about the story because it feels like there is no story. But I don't know how they're going to tie any of this in, and I wish there was more meaningful events that took place in game. I keep waiting for something to happen. Like right now, obviously it's a huge event happening where the Almighty is going to crash into the tower, and that's like threatening our lives and everything, you know, but I feel like it's just going to be resolved in the stupidest way possible, and it's not going to further the story whatsoever. I'm totally down for powering up Rasputin's stupid bunkers if it means that we get some sort of progression, but we didn't really get any progression in the last seasons either. And I think it's cool how they're having the big events happen at the end of the season, and then next season those events are, you know, transpiring into new stories. They're kind of connecting, which I think they're doing a better job than ever of making the world feel, you know, a little bit more coherent. But then again, I don't think any of it matters. I feel like the last like actual impactful thing to happen, besides obviously us finding the pyramids, was, you know, Cade's death. And I mean, like, what do they have to bring to the table to have another event like that that actually impacts people, that, you know, tugs at the emotions, makes you feel like this is an incentive for me to play? You know, I really hope that next season, the third and final one, is going to be about, you know, the Jimmy City and the curse and Aldrin, and give us some more backstory on all of that and what's going on. And I wish that this season would be about Siva, you know, and it very well could be. You know, that could be a prediction come true, who knows. But right now, as it stands, what I'm thinking is that Siva's going to get pushed back to next season, and then we're going to have no closure. You know, maybe there will be a Dreaming City storyline for the September, for the fall update, the big annual expansion, which will be awesome. But, you know, I just have my doubts. I feel like a lot of people are going to die out and they're going to lose interest in the story from now until that big update. And speaking of which, you know, I don't think Shadowkeep was a bad update or whatever. It was supposed to be definitely a smaller size than Forsaken. I think Forsaken was absolutely amazing. One of the best turning points in all of Destiny's life cycle. And I was really excited for Shadowkeep. Shadowkeep brought a lot back, but, you know, I don't really know how to feel about it. I don't think it was what people were expecting, and it definitely wasn't what I was hoping for. For an annual DLC that you have to wait an entire year for to get again, it just doesn't feel like it delivered to me. And I'm worried about what this upcoming September's big drop, big release is going to be. Is it going to be some other little story that transpires and then we have to wait again for something else to come out of it? Or is it going to be a resolution? It feels like the story is never going to get a resolution. And you know, I feel like I should stop talking about the story because that's only one aspect of the game that people are concerned about, but I feel like that's the content, you know? The content is our progression as a being and the different things that happen in the world that are transpiring around us. And it feels like that's going nowhere. I've been playing the same goddamn strike for the past fucking 3 years. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to lose focus and starting to go off on tangents. You know, I should probably cut it, but I think I've said most of the things that I wanted to say and a lot of the things I wanted to get out. And hopefully a lot of these things will be added to or resolved in the future. We get some sort of closure on any of these things, or any sort of improvements. I don't know. But, you know, with the fucking pandemic thing going on, you got a lot of time to think, and I've got a lot of time to play this game. And the more time I play this game, the more I realize how little is going on, and how little there is to do. Which scares me, because every single day in D1 I'd get on, and I'd have even more time than I did now, and I'd play the shit out of it. I'd just do absolutely everything, and I'd never get bored. But now, I am so fucking bored out of my mind. I'll just sit at the main menu, and I'll stare at the fucking planets. And I'll be like, man, I wish there was something new. I wish they'd added a new planet. You know, I wish we could go back to the Dreadnought. I wish anything. I wish they'd come up with something that players could care about. Because right now, there's no incentive. And I really need that back as a player. I know that they can do it. They've done it in the past. There's no excuse for them not to be able to do it now. I mean, I guess you could bring up the whole thing with Activision and the other two studios that were supporting them, but I mean, I don't even know what to say. You know, I feel some sympathy for them, but then again, you need criticism. You know, things aren't going to improve if you don't have criticism. And I just want the best for them. You know, I love them, and I love their game, but I know it could be better. And I want them to have a good game, and I want them to be successful. I mean, shit. I'm not a fucking fan of Eververse or the microtransactions, but do you see how much money that they pulled in with that? Just in 1 year? 100% profit on those fucking microtransactions. $300 million. Do you know how much content we could have right now with that? Oh my god, I could be having the fucking time of my life on this game. And what I'm hoping, you know, I feel like often my ambitions are a lot better than what actually transpires out of Bungie's creative vision, but what I'm hoping is that fucking $300 million, I know not all of it is going to go to us, you know, I know people got to be paid, you know, I know there's got to be expenses here and there, but I hope they use some of that money to help build on the world. You know, it may not be coming now. Bounties aren't really that expensive for them to produce, you know, it doesn't really cut too much out of their budget, so where's the budget going? I'm hoping that they're saving up in the future. You know, like we're being tided over right now with these little tiny side quests. And finally, when the fall expansion hits, boom, we're just going to be overwhelmed. That budget is finally going to come into play. And they're going to be like, see guys, this is what you've been waiting for this entire time. This is finally where everything comes together. And we've crafted this, this elegant story for you. And you know, everything's good again, and you can finally see all this hard work that you put into everything being returned to you, and you feel valued as a player and as a person. But I don't know if that'll happen, you know? You look at $300 million and you think, oh yeah, they can definitely do something out of this. But who knows with them, man? I don't even know what to say anymore. But you know, I will be optimistic. You know, I've been burned before for having a positive outlook, but you know what? I'll keep hoping. I'll keep hoping that next fall, they'll pull the card out of their sleeve and be like, boom, surprise, here you guys are. We've been working our asses off. We've been, you know, pushing the limits for you guys. And here's everything that we've been working on. And I hope you guys are satisfied. And the players are never satisfied. But, I mean, like, that's what they said about Trials, too. So I have my doubts. They said, Trials has been in the oven cooking because we didn't want to release it unbaked. For the past year or so, we've been working hard on this. And, I mean, I believe them when they said it, but now, look. Trials is... if they call that baked, I don't even know. They need a new fucking oven, because all that time they spent on trials just to make it the exact same, if not worse than it was before. I have my concerns, man. What do they think time and effort means? Because trials right now certainly is not what it looks like. But you know what? I'll try to end it on a positive note. Like I said, they can keep doing their thing. I'll keep playing the game, you know. Let's just keep hoping for some sort of positive resolution. Maybe I'll make a part 2 to the video. Maybe events will transpire that'll make me change my mind about what I've said. But for now, that's just going to be the end of it. You know, I think I've gotten everything out I wanted to say. Feel a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. I guess since we're right at the end of the fucking boss here, I guess I'll fucking let that finish, and then I'll peace out. So yeah, I mean, that was it all. Thanks for listening.
Diagnostics report suggests I have returned to a normal rate of